No one wanted to make Friday, but they finally got a green light by giving into one studio demand. Friday turns 30 years old this week, so here are some things I bet you never knew about it. The story behind Friday starts in 1990 in South Central Los Angeles when music producer DJ Pooh and actor/rapper Ice Cube first became collaborators. In early 1994, they were sitting in the studio and started talking about a movie. You see, in the late 80s and early 90s, movies portrayed the hood as a violent and menacing place. There was Menace to Society, South Central, Colors, and Boys in the Hood. And as Ice Cube explained to Complex, everybody was looking at our neighborhood like it was hell on earth, like the worst place you could grow up in America. And I'm like, why? I didn't see it all that way. And so that motivated him and DJ Pooh to come up with a movie that showed the lighter side of their neighborhood. We were just like, yo, we need to create something to show how the hood really is from our vantage point. Ice Cube said he was influenced by Cheech and Chong, In Living Color, and Hollywood Shuffle. And as he told Rolling Stone, he really wanted to make a hood classic that could be watched over and over and over again. So they envisioned a movie that took place over the course of one Friday in their neighborhood, drawing from their lives and the people they knew growing up. Cube told Complex, everything in Friday happened on my block at one point or another.
I had remembered the time when the dude in my neighborhood had beat up this dude and took his bike. So the story was going to be around the bully of the neighborhood.
During the idea phase, Ice Cube brought on director F. Gary Gray, who was 24 years old at the time and had never made a feature film. Gray was a music video director who also grew up in South Central, and he shot a number of Ice Cube's videos, including It Was a Good Day. Cube's original idea was for he and Gray to self-finance the movie and shoot it in black and white for about $75,000. Then they started writing. Ice Cube says the script took a couple of months to put together, and that he and DJ Pooh would write over the phone while Cube was on tour in Europe. He'd also send Gary Gray the pages from Europe so he could get his thoughts. But then Friday almost didn't happen, as Ice Cube got the offer to make a sports movie called Defense, while Gray was going to make a different film called Rollin' 80s. Both of those projects ended up falling apart, and so they circled back around to Friday. Around this time, F. Gary Gray shot the whole movie on video as a test run, just so he could map out the visuals ahead of time. Then they brought on their manager and producer, Patricia Charbonnet, who helped them write the script so they could sell it to a Hollywood studio. She told Complex they were rejected all over town. No one wanted to make it. And so they considered going the ultra-low budget self-financing route. But then they thought maybe that small studio New Line Cinema would want it. New Line had made House Party, and Ice Cube said they understood the black movie market.
There's a party tonight at Peter's house. Can I go?
You're not going nowhere. Every little step you take will be around this bedroom tonight.
New Line agreed to finance the film and let Ice Cube keep F. Gary Gray on as director. But the studio had one demand. You see, at first, DJ Pooh was going to play Smokey. A lot of the character was based on his life. But New Line didn't think he was experienced enough as an actor, so it demanded the role be recast. Chris Rock and Tommy Davidson both auditioned for the part, but then Cube and Pooh caught an episode of Def Comedy Jam featuring Chris Tucker. They were blown away and thought this dude would be able to play the hell out of Smokey.
My roach is smart too, man. They play dead. The other day I stepped on one of them, went in the bathroom to get some tissue, came back, that nigga was gone. I seen him 2 weeks later with some stitches. He told me he was too legit to quit.
Casting director Kim Hardin, meanwhile, takes credit for bringing in Chris Tucker. Tucker's first audition went terribly, but Hardin then offered him a do-over. Tucker prepared with his future co-stars Faison Love and Angela Means, and then nailed his callback. DJ Pooh ended up playing the smaller part of Red in the movie. Angela Means was a stand-up at the time, and knew that she had nailed her audition for Felicia. She got the part, but her agents actually turned it down without even asking her, saying, "It's not for you, Angela, you're the pretty girl." She had them call the producers back and accept the role. Faison Love says he entered the audition room in character and improvised a lot. He was apparently taken aback by the beauty of casting director Kim Hardin's feet, as he told Complex, "Her feet were fucking gorgeous. I just wanted to fuck her feet. I was talking about how gorgeous her feet were. I walked out of there and they were like, yeah, you got it." Megan Good was 13 when she appeared in the movie as kid number 2. She got the role after simply dropping off her headshot and resume at Kim Hardin's casting office. The movie has a few cameos, including F. Gary Gray, LaWanda Page, WC, and a young Michael Clark Duncan appears uncredited. New Line set the budget at $3.5 million, and cameras started rolling in August 1994 in South Central Los Angeles. They had just 20 days to film the entire movie. Gray said, "I'm glad I was naive back then. I didn't know 20 days wasn't enough to shoot a movie." Costume designer Sean Barton sourced all of the film's clothes from the Slauson swap meet. She said Smokey wears blue in the movie not because of any gang associations, but just because it was easiest for continuity and looked best with Chris Tucker's skin tone at night. Gary Gray said the orange crush lowrider that Big Worm drives was famous in the hood, and they specifically tracked it down for the movie. Faison Love says the car belonged to a guy named Blaze, and quote, he later sold that car to Japan, then Blaze got murdered. Gray found Smokey's beat up Pinto convertible randomly when he was driving through the neighborhood. He says that car never drove right, and the crew had to physically push it. The sounds of the car's engine and alarms were all added in post. Sean Barton had trouble making Angela Means look less pretty as Felicia. The solution? Quote, men's clothing was the only way. Means says the locals were mostly respectful when they were filming because of Ice Cube, but quote, everyone was cool except for one dude who would get drunk even during the day and shout, fuck y'all, fuck you motherfucker, I'm a star, this is my neighborhood, all you motherfuckers don't mean shit, I don't give a fuck about no iced tea. They paid the guy $25 to shut him up. Tiny Lister says fans would show up in huge numbers to watch filming. Quote, it would be like 500 fans around set every day. The audience loved us so much. Other stars of the movie recalled members of the Crips also hanging out around set, but said they didn't cause any trouble. Gary Gray said, we had a couple of drive-bys around the corner, but not on our set. When you're shooting in South LA and Compton, you gotta deal with what you gotta deal with. DJ Pooh recalled a relaxed environment. Quote, it never felt like work. We were just having a good time. Chris and I shared a trailer. We'd get there in the morning, light one up, and start the day. It was like part of the movie. And Ice Cube said there was a lot of improvising on set, as much as 65%. And all the cast and crew recalled how fun the set was, especially thanks to all the comedians in the movie.
Now, Dana told me about that big snake situation.
Big worm.
Big worm, big hole, big... I don't give a damn!
Gary Gray shared one technical regret. Quote, I wish the fight sequence was a little better. There are a couple of things I would improve. There are moments where the fight didn't feel as real as I wanted it to. It felt a little staged. Friday wrapped production on schedule after its 4-week shoot. For the music, Gray and Cube picked some songs that they grew up with in the 70s. Though their choices were expensive, New Line was on board and paid for the rights. Gary Gray's first cut of the movie was a bit long, and Ice Cube and Chris Tucker didn't like it. All of them were worried that they had completely messed it up. But then they started showing the film to black test audiences who loved it, especially the crowd at Howard University. They held a premiere screening at the Chinese Theater in LA in April 1995. Faison Love remembered the theater being a bit cloudy. Quote, it was smoked out. Friday then opened on 865 screens in the US on April 26, 1995. It did $6.6 million opening weekend before going on to gross $27.5 million total, which is nearly 8 times its budget. Critics were mostly favorable. Today, 77% of the 30 reviews assessed by Rotten Tomatoes are positive. It would go on to have a number of famous admirers. Gray says Michael Jordan once called it his favorite movie, while Quentin Tarantino said it was one of his 20 favorite films from the 90s and 2000s. Friday would go on to become a hood classic, just as Ice Cube had intended, and then it grew into something even bigger, largely thanks to its lasting success on VHS and DVD. Bye Felicia became a legendary quote and meme unto itself. Character names entered the culture. NFL player Deebo Samuel's name, for example, is a reference to the film, while Kendrick Lamar referenced Deebo in Not Like Us. Numerous cast members told Complex that people quote lines and bring up the movie to them all the time to this day. Despite the fact that the movie was his breakout role, Chris Tucker sort of disowned the movie. He's not in the sequels, claiming he wanted to move on to other things, and it seems he's grown to have some moral and ethical objections to the franchise, explaining in 2021 he didn't want to promote drug use. Ice Cube said in 2015, I don't understand to this day why Chris would want to run from something that made him a movie star, but you gotta respect somebody wanting a life change. When you bring God into the equation, you can't say nothing against that. Faison Love put it more bluntly, Chris is a fucking idiot, he does do sequels, he did 900 Rush Hour movies. Friday spawned 2 sequels, both written by and starring Ice Cube, 2000's Next Friday, which did $60 million off an $11 million budget, and 2002's Friday After Next, which did $33 million off a $10 million budget. There was also Friday, the animated series on MTV2 in 2007.
Dana's going to SOL Technical Institute. She's making something of herself. She can be ashamed of us all she wants.
Which spanned just 8 episodes. Ice Cube has considered making another Friday over the years, and in April 2025, we learned it's finally happening at New Line, which is now owned by Warner Brothers. According to Variety, Ice Cube has reached a deal to write and star in Last Friday.